So that lever right there is the choke. That's off right now. Notice the butterfly picture. That's on all the way. So evidently when I start it up, they say it starts up good, but then you can never run it on open even when it's hot out. So I'm going to start this thing up and let you see what it's doing. So it does run, but it doesn't run right. It sits there and it wants more gas. So I'm going to go ahead and take this apart, and I'll let you watch me. And what I'm trying to get at is this right here. See that right there? There's little diaphragms in there, and that's what pumps the gas up. First thing I'm going to do is take this air cleaner off. That probably needs to be cleaned. If I clean it, it'll make it worse. The dirty air cleaner actually is choking the motor. See if we run into anything here. I can't remember how it goes together. I'll just have to play it by ear. Don't drop anything in there. I'm going to close the choke. In fact, this would be a good time to show you what a choke actually does. Choke actually, this is wide open. When I'm choking it, I'm actually closing this off. Instead of having a hole this size, I got that tiny little hole right there. And what that does is increase the vacuum. And in this case, I believe it's increasing the vacuum enough to make this half worn out diaphragm in the fuel pump right there work. At high speeds, it seems like it works, but who wants to till all the time at high speed? These screw down into the carburetor, or into the tank. This is the gas tank. That takes torque T10. These are tiny little things. When you take this apart, if you take one of these diaphragms on any engine, any carburetor, when you take it apart, if you know that it ran the way it was put together at one time, note which side of just note how the diaphragms are put in there. Sometimes, like on a chainsaw, you'll have like 3 or 4 diaphragms. Chainsaws are more complex because they have to run upside down and straight up, straight down. Oh, and beware, the muffler's hot if you've been playing with it like I was. Okay. We'll come apart. There it goes. See what I mean by, well, you don't see it yet, but I'll try to get this all out without dropping anything. Okay, now notice this. I haven't moved much of anything. Notice the spring first. Then they got this little smooth. See this? That's so the spring doesn't poke a hole in the diaphragm itself. I'm going to lay this right here on my stand. Now we have the diaphragm. See how wrinkled up it is? Yeah, it's wonder it even runs. This thing's supposed to be flat. Lay down on those holes, and what it does, it's kind of like a check valve. Go as the valve moves, and then it makes this little pump work. The pump's pretty worn. Look. So once I'm going to go ahead and see if I have one. I'll turn the camera off. I'll be back. There's the old one. As you can see, I'm surprised it even worked. And this is the new one. So now I'm going to clean all this crap off of here, and I'll show it to you when I'm done. This is the part. I don't know if you can read that, but it's what is it? 530006. 530006. That's probably, that number very likely been changed over the years, 20-some years. I don't know how long ago I bought these. These came in a quantity of 10, made in USA, so it must be really old. But anyway, as long as you keep them and don't let them get folded, you get a package of 10 of these, it'll last you for a lifetime. See? Okay, so now I'm going to lay this gasket on there. Now look what we got here. Look at where the flaps are, those little flaps. One flap has to go down and seal on that hole, and one flap seals this whole gap. You see, that's made just the reverse. It's got a hole. Oops, I can't find my finger. Anyway, it's got a hole right there, see? And it's got a flap here. So it's got one of these on the part that I'm working on. So you see it goes on like this. If I turn this over, see that square hole actually goes over here. And this little hole, see that little one? The one the flap actually seals on? It leaves that gap so that that rubber can have a place to flap back into. So this is just room for it to flap back in there. And the same way with on the carburetor itself. Gives it room for it to flap. But what it really seals on is these little round holes. That's actually a seat right there. And it's got a seat right there, you see it? I'm going to go ahead and spray this down with a little bit of cleaner, clean that off, and then I'm going to put this baby back together. Okay, so I cleaned that off. See how clean it is? Now I'm going to go ahead and put this puppy back together. As you can see, the spring will go inside here. Then it'll have that little cover on it to protect the diaphragm. And that's the part that I don't want to lose parts when I'm putting it in. I'm probably going to put a little tiny bit of grease on it to hold it in place. And then when the gas goes through, it'll just take the grease off and that'll be done. It's so tiny here. If I put my hands in here, I'll be able to see. So I'll try to show you. Okay, here's the spring. That spring's going to go right inside here. Okay, it's going to be sitting there like that, and you're going to try to get that gasket on there without letting that spring fall out. It's got very little tension on it. What I'll do is put a little bit of thick grease on it to hold it in place. And I'll put a little bit of thick grease on the face of the other part to hold the diaphragm on, and I'll try to get it lined up perfectly and then just push it on. It's got a locating pin at the end of my finger there, see it? Okay, that's what that little hole was for. So what this does, makes a tiny little vacuum coming out of the piston when it's going down. When the piston's going down, it's going to make a little bit of vacuum, a tiny bit, and then these little things are going to flutter, and it's going to pump gas up there. All right, the spring is just to return the diaphragm back to its original size. So we're talking tiny bit of vacuum. So everything has to be pretty much right for it to work. So don't put grease in these holes or anything. I'm only going to use the grease to hold this spring in here while I'm working. Okay, I put a tiny bit of grease on my finger. You can see it in there. And I put a little tiny bit underneath this to hold it on the end of the spring. So that's in my, as you can see, it's almost level. It only pushes out there about less than 1/16 of an inch. That has to be able to move. So now with the rest of this, I'm going to put it on the face of this. I'll put it on the face where the gasket goes to hold it on there. I can't do it holding it, but I'll show you when I'm done. Okay, so I put a little tiny bit of grease on there. See it? Even though there's, I just want to keep it off of this seat. All right, forgot that it had that. Okay, so now this is stuck on here, but the flaps are not stuck. Try to get out of the way. Can't fit the hole. Parallax. Without that grease, this is a son of a gun. See, right there, it went on, right then. So I'm going to try to get one of these screws started. So I'm going to get that one snug, cross it, and I'm going to go over here, this one snug. Remember, that vacuum is precious. I'm trying to make this vacuum tight. So I'm going to crisscross it. These are little screws, so don't get too manly. I'll go over it 3 times. I like that number 3. Actually, that's probably all I would have had done. Just take off that, take off the air cleaner so I can see, and get this out of the way, take out one screw, move this out of the way, and let her rip. Okay. I haven't put any gas in it or anything. Sooner or later I'll put a new spark plug in it and everything. Right now I want to see if it'll run gas up in there. Running right now. Good. brand new air filter. Yeah, I got a lot of old parts. Let me see if I can get this GL4RC. Just what I took out on it, nice and clean.